Welcome to Whispers of the Web, where the hidden gems of the web come to life. Join us as we unravel the most fascinating tales, secrets, and discussions from across the web. Every whisper has a story. If you enjoy our journey through the whispers of the web, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the intrigue. Story number 1. Cashier mistake leads to me paying next to nothing for 2 carts of groceries. The other day I went grocery shopping at a local chain grocery store. I had 2 full carts of food as I don't have a car, so I tried to do as much as I can in one trip. I got to the checkout, and before the first cart was empty my total was over $200. I didn't look again and kept unloading. Well, at the end of the second cart, the cashier paused the transaction so they could catch up with bagging and make room for more. During that time there was a shift change. The new cashier was told by the original about the pause, but she forgot and started scanning the rest of my groceries as a new transaction. I saw it happen and didn't say anything. I ended up only paying $98 for 2 carts of food. I've really been struggling, so this seemed to be a huge blessing in my favor. But now I can't help but wonder if I got someone in trouble or worse, fired. I wouldn't feel too bad about this. Mistakes happen in business all the time, and that is not your problem. If you're struggling, take it as the blessing that it is. Story number 2. I take things out of unlocked lockers at the gym if every nearby locker is in use. No, I don't steal, but in my opinion, if you don't lock up your items, you have no right to complain about your things being moved or stolen. Of course, there is the risk of your items being stolen at the gym if you don't lock your locker, but this type of behavior is the epitome of being a douche. There are usually signs in locker rooms confirming the risk of stolen items from unlocked lockers, but that also means it's telling people like you that not everyone will have a lock and you should still respect that. Touching and moving someone's stuff because you think you're better than they are just because you have a lock is not something I would ever be proud of like you seem to be. Story number 3. I was a panhandler and hitchhiker for most of my teen years. From the ages 14 to 22, I only panhandled to survive. Once my dad stopped paying child support, my family and I became homeless. There were many days we were at the point of starvation until I decided to panhandle. At first I only did it so we could have 1 meal a day, but as I realized I could get much more, it eventually kinda became like a job, and we used the money to check into a cheap hotel every night. I was fine with it at first because I felt like I was helping my family survive. But my mother refused to get a job and didn't want my brother and I to work either. My brother is 6 years older, so he was already an adult at this time. My mother told me that she had a search warrant for her arrest, so if she got a job the cops will find her and arrest her. I found out years later that it wasn't true. I believed her for like 5 years. We spent years just going from town to town, state to state doing the same thing, and I would be the only person panhandling. My family never did because apparently, people would have more sympathy for the youngest person. I was a very obedient child, so it never crossed my mind to rebel until I was 22. My mother ended up winning a lawsuit with someone and got a few thousand, and we spent it living in Airbnbs. I enjoyed not feeling homeless or asking anyone for anything so much that I decided to finally rebel and just get a job so I could continue that lifestyle. My mother was very upset by this, and it wasn't easy at all for me because of how much she gaslit me. But I finally did it. At 22 years old I had no education or work experience, so it was hard at first, but now a couple of years later, I'm living normally but still support my family financially. Panhandling has cost me lots of psychological trauma and my self-esteem is at 0. I also don't know how I can ever stop supporting my family because they wouldn't have anywhere to live if I did. I love them very much, but they are toxic. This is something I would never tell anyone that I meet because I'm so ashamed of my past, and looking back, I really wished I had it in me to rebel much sooner because by now my life would have been better, and I feel really depressed that I wasted my youth. You shouldn't feel ashamed of something you were forced to do as a child. This sounds like an incredibly toxic situation where your mother took advantage of both you and your brother, and continues to do so. I hope you are able to reach out for resources to help your family, and I wish you all the best in life going forward. Story number 4. When I was 10, I stole all the glue and scissors from my school and blamed someone else. They were seen as a troublemaker from then on. I was pretty popular at my school when I joined. Life was good until a new kid arrived when I was about 9. I don't know how, but over a really short time he managed to take over my friend's group and push me out. Unrelated to this, one day I thought it would be funny to steal the glue and scissors, which I did. I was planning to return them after the amusement had been had. Only the teacher went mad. They were being way over the top and they decided that if someone didn't own up to it, everyone would suffer. The class was starting to get really worried and were basically saying that whoever did it should just own up. I stayed quiet and the teacher searched all our lockers and belongings. They found the glue and scissors in the locker of the new kid. I'd put them there originally as the locker was open. I didn't even realize at the time it was his locker. But when the teacher found them, I stayed quiet thinking that the worst that would happen was that they'd get a minor telling off. Only the teacher was being ridiculous and was still really angry. They went crazy at the boy, and no matter how much he said it wasn't him, the teacher just kept going crazy. Eventually, the teacher took him to see the deputy head. The boy was in tears. His parents were called and he ended up in detention for a week. I felt pretty awful that I hadn't said anything, but I thought it was too late. I'm in a WhatsApp group with old school friends, and they were talking about random people when they mentioned the kid I blamed all those years ago. They were talking about how he was always such a jerk. I can't stop thinking that maybe he wasn't actually a jerk, but I kick off his life of being labeled a jerk by blaming that whole episode on him. It's too late now, but it was definitely a crappy thing to do, even if I was 10. I maintain what I always say: kids can be really cruel to each other, and the damage can last your whole life. Kids, man. Story number 5. I lied about being vegetarian all throughout middle school. So this all started in my first year at middle school some years ago. I wanted to be a new person, and told everyone that I was going to be vegetarian from that day onward. It lasted about a month. As time continued, I felt guilty wasting the meat rather than eating it. So instead, I went back to eating meat. But I already told everyone I'm vegetarian, so my great idea was to eat it in secret. Now, imagine the scene from the I Think You Should Leave show, where Tim Robinson ate that hot dog out of his sleeve. That was exactly what I did. I would sneak full breakfast sausages up my sleeve, sit there pondering with my mouth placed on my hand, sneaking nibbles of this sausage. And this lasted my entire middle school. I'd be surprised if no one noticed. I can just imagine this now, and it makes me laugh. I can imagine your friends all thinking that you're just being sneaky, but still trying to support your vegetarian lifestyle. You had good friends if they did notice. Story number 6. I made a girl fail a test in middle school because of what she said about me. For context, I have a less severe case of Mobius syndrome. So in middle school, we had swapped seats and I sat next to this girl, Jolie. Her friend Stacy sat behind us. Fake names. We had moved seats and her friend started to talk to her. Stacy thought she was whispering, but I heard everything. She had said that she felt bad for Jolie. Stacy then said that she was sitting next to me, the weird-looking kid. So I knew I had to get revenge. For some more context, every time we would have a test in this class, the teacher would come around and check our desks to see if we had any study guides with us. We weren't allowed them, and our teacher had stated that if we were caught with one, it was an automatic fail. So the next time we had a test, I snuck a study guide in Stacy's desk and waited. When the teacher came around to Stacy's desk, she had found the study guide. Stacy tried to tell her it wasn't hers, but the teacher wasn't having it. She made her sit off to the side and failed her for the test. Stacy was crying, and at the time I was laughing in my head. Do I feel bad about it now? Yes, a bit. It actually sounds like Stacy probably knew exactly how loud she was talking. Like I said earlier, kids are so cruel to each other. This sounds a lot like revenge. Passive-aggressive revenge for passive-aggressive bullying. Story number 7. I pretend to be asleep so I don't hang out with a friend. I am an introverted person who likes to have his own space, and this friend, when he comes over, he stays the whole day, like from 10:30 in the morning, and most of the time I haven't eaten breakfast yet, and he stays until 6 to 7 at night. Like I just graduated, so I am still searching for jobs, so I am always home. But the thing is, since I don't have a job yet, I don't have anything to feed him all day, and that bugs me a lot. Makes me feel like a bad person who doesn't care, but the real truth is I'm broke. So pretending to be asleep for an hour and 30 minutes until he leaves, and that is the sacrifice I am willing to make to have the whole day to myself applying for jobs, than to open for him and spend the whole day miserable constantly thinking about what are we going to eat. I think it might be time to set a boundary with your friend. A lot of people take straight honesty really well. You could try simply telling him that you're currently really broke and can't afford to feed the both of you, so when he comes over he needs to bring food for himself. It could be a simple fix. If you truly want to be alone though, then you may just have to ask him to come over less often. Communication is key to healthy friendships just as much as romantic relationships. Thank you for joining us for today's journey through the whispers of the web. Share your thoughts and suggestions for our next adventure. If you're not yet a part of our whispering community, click the subscribe button and click the bell for notifications to never miss out on another story. Join us next time as we uncover another enthralling tale from the web. Until our next whisper.